I'm fascinated by things that are undiscovered only in the sense that they are being forgotten or are currently happening but are inconsequential. I'm most fascinated by scale, specifically the scale something can exist in, the thresholds that define its size, extremes of time, interaction, and importance from a personal and general perspective. What makes something important, and how do we collectively decide? I think about size most often when I think of conclusion and losing things, the moment that marks the end of something. What I've come to realize is there's no humbling event, moment, a second, a repetition, nothing that marks the end of something. A last moment is infinite in its size while still existing between thresholds. There's an overlap as everything conceivable is contained between the last moment and the next. With that, everything becomes heavy. I've called it a bottomless pit or a contradicting frustration, but I don't think that's what it is. An issue I have often fallen into with my experience between the previous and the next is that as I go through, I expect things to return, as if vast structures are set out for one goal, and that my relationships are made to accomplish something. I found that the intentions of a relationship are ever moving, and that no amount of nostalgia, or a completion of a cycle, or a mention of a first moment will finalize a relationship, because the last thing we do to one another is leave each other and forget each other in a final unit of time. Scale is so interesting and important to me in that way, that the edges of a moment, the parameters, contain something infinite. I find comfort in this. This mindset has helped me move toward fixing my way of thinking about experiences in my life I've had trouble talking about. Doesn't matter what they are, but instead how I see them. I was swallowed by how hidden and unconcluded they felt, but it feels they've lost their grandeur. I feel now I can accept that some things are unsolved, hidden and unseen. Some things have edges, but contain infinitely small fractions. My family, my life, my home, nothing is required by physical law, and so I'm not bound to them. The art I make isn't to try and embrace my place in this. Whether it's a void or a line or whatever shape it may be, I'm not trying to find my position on it. I'm not trying to find which scale I belong to or which I should make my art on. I think it's a way for me to define the end of what I know or the most hidden things in my life. I think often we are consumed by things that are most unseen or obscure. I think that what's so consuming about these things is how terrifying what they're experiencing is. We are often drawn to obscurity in an attempt to save it from irrelevancy, wallow in its irrelevance, or see it as a conclusion to a descent that begins with what is shared the most or generally important and ends with what is personally important. We start with things that we all understand, and we end with things that we've hidden from the world and that will be lost in time, that we can witness being lost in time. And we're drawn to the things that we see other people hide because we want to save those things too. Will affect how you interact with the world even after you realize that it's entirely relative. I think this is why aging is scary. I'm alone a lot. We've all been recently, and I'm not trying to start a competition. I'm just saying that in regards to the amount of time I thought I'd be spending with people these last few years, it was a lot less than anticipated. For almost all my life, I've had a self-regulated structure without regulated thinking and feeling. I feel I've experienced the inverse of excess, and found something important in the lack of excitement and grandeur, rather than finding emptiness in notions of importance. I feel like the world isn't an endless self-containing pit anymore. It's a mosaic. There is nothing objective in constant newness. I think my art is like wandering over the varying levels of abstraction and obscurity that I could think of and experience. The things that are disturbing or upsetting to me, and the things that I've hidden from myself and the rest of the world. My art's definitely helped me do this, and also thinking about my art and how I have to approach it now. The world to me now doesn't feel like something in need of uncovering. I don't feel like there's something hiding from me, or if it is, I've accepted it. I visited my childhood home recently, or the street that it's on, because I don't have the address and I couldn't recognize the house. So I looked at all the gray houses and wondered which one was mine. I feel like I'm losing a lot this year, and it all feels very unconcluded. I feel like there are so many people that I'd want to see again that I may never. I think that these moments that I've shared with people are enough, and they don't need to be finalized, because after a final moment with someone, I still have to walk home myself. I'll leave it open-ended. Some things aren't perfect circles,